Hi students. Poetry is a very beautiful form of literature, and to understand poetry better, we need to know the nuances of English. In fact, we have to delve into the mind frame of the poet, understand the poet's thoughts, beliefs, values. Not only that, we don't have to stop at that. We have to know the time frame, means the time when the poet wrote this poetry. What were the most relevant issues at that time? What was the social, cultural, political, economic, and sometimes even the environmental background? See, during the World War I and World War II, most of the poets, in fact many poets, wrote about the war, wrote about soldiers. Take No Men Are Foreign, on war. And see, during recent times, what are the poets and authors writing about? They are writing about this COVID crisis. They are writing about the challenges that we have to face. How to motivate each other, how to stay safe and still come out of this crisis. So you see, to understand a poetry, we need to know a lot more than just what the poetry portrays. In 1963, when Adrienne Rich wrote this poem down, The Trees, what were the most relevant issues that prompted her or urged her to write this poetry down? What were the thoughts? What were the beliefs? Why did she write this down? What was the message that she wanted to convey through this poetry? So shall we move on to The Trees? Okay. Adrienne Rich was a political activist and a feminist. A feminist is one who propagates equality for women or fights for women's rights in every field. She was a radical poet, one who fought for political and social change. In this poem, the trees are personified. They actually symbolize women. Adrienne Rich fought for women's rights. She was a feminist. So she wrote about women who were in confinement, who were trapped behind walls. Their freedom, their equal rights was denied to them. So trees here symbolize women who want to break free from confinement, who want to break free from the bondage, from the deprivation, from the discrimination, and move out into the forest, that is, into their rightful place. And their struggle in doing so, and in the end, the achievement of their goal. So the trees symbolize women here and their fight for freedom or equality in this poetry. So let's move on to the first stanza. The trees inside are moving out into the forest that was empty all these days, where no bird could sit, no insect hide, no sun bury its feet in shadow. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. Why has Adrienne Rich compared trees with women? Why has she taken tree as a symbol? A tree represents strength, gives nourishment and nurtures. One single tree can give nourishment or shelter to millions of tiny creatures, insects, birds. Similarly, women are a symbol of strength. Women are strong. At the same time, they are life givers. They give birth. Not only do they give birth, but they nourish, they nurture and support. And hence, probably, Adrienne Rich has symbolized trees as women. Let's move on to the second stanza. All night the roots work to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor. The leaves strain towards the glass, small twigs stiff with exertion, long crabbed boughs shuffling under the roof like newly discharged patients, half dazed, moving to the clinic doors. In the second stanza, Adrienne Rich compares women or trees to newly discharged patients because after a long confinement, they are healing and slowly struggling to move out. So in order to move out, they have to overcome a number of obstacles. Change is happening, but it is slow, and so women had to overcome a number of hurdles in order to move out. In India, women not only were discriminated against gender-wise, but so many oppressive customs like the sati, the prohibition of widow remarriage, no rights to education, child marriage, and so many such oppressive customs had to be tackled and overcome. So in the second stanza, change is happening, they are moving out, they are struggling, they are making every effort, but it is slow. Just like newly discharged patients. I sit inside, doors open to the veranda, writing long letters, in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. The night is fresh. The whole moon shines in a sky still open. The smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. In the third stanza, Adrienne Rich says, she talks about herself sitting inside and writing long letters, where she scarcely mentions the departure of the forest. So children, when you write about change, when you talk about some radical change or important change, you never mention it openly because there's bound to be a resistance. Whenever there is change, there is never immediate acceptance. There is always a resistance, there are hurdles, there are obstacles. So you need to overcome them. So whenever there is change, it doesn't come out immediately or openly, it comes out slowly. And then there is acceptance. My head is full of whispers, which tomorrow will be silent. Listen, the glass is breaking. The trees are stumbling forward into the night. Winds rush to meet them. The moon is broken like a mirror. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. In the last stanza, Adrienne Rich says that her head is full of whispers, so many thoughts, so many ideas coming expressed very softly. And then the final culmination, the glass is breaking. Finally, the chains are broken and the trees are moving out, stumbling out. The women are trying to move out into the society, get their rightful place, and stumbling because they have to overcome so many obstacles, hindrances, resistance, but winds rush to meet them. So there is acceptance. Gradually, there will be acceptance. And in the last few lines, Adrienne Rich talks about the moon. In the last 3 lines, Adrienne Rich refers to the moon. The moon here symbolizes power, fertility, and change. A change that is brought about by the efforts of women. What exactly does Adrienne Rich wish to convey when she talks about in the crown of the tallest oak? Well, Germania is a painting or a figure of a woman, and her crown is made of oak leaves. Now, these oak leaves symbolize strength, bravery, and courage. So, probably, Adrienne Rich says that women are strong, courageous, and heroic and can bring about change when they are determined to do so. Now let's turn to the figures of speech.
The trees inside are moving out into the forest. The forest that was empty all these days. So in the first line, the trees are personified. Trees cannot move, but here the trees are given a human quality. So personification. The forest and the forest in the first and second line are repeated. So repetition. In the third, fourth and fifth line, no bird, no insect, no sun is again the words are repeated for emphasis, so it is repetition. No sun bury its feet in shadow, sun bury its feet. So the sun is given a human-like quality, so it is personification. In the second stanza, there is more of personification. All night the roots work to disengage themselves. So that is personification. The leaves strain towards glass. Small twigs stiff with exertion. Long cramped boughs shuffling under the roof. Again personification because they are given human qualities. Now in the next line, under the roof like newly discharged patients. Long cramped boughs shuffling under the roof like. So there is a simile there. When you are comparing to newly discharged patients. So it is a simile. In the third stanza, second line, writing long letters. Long letters. L sound is repeated. So alliteration. In the second last line of that stanza, the smell of leaves and lichen, again L sound is repeated, leaves and lichen, so alliteration. And in the last stanza, reaches like a voice into the rooms is a simile. Like a voice into the rooms, simile. In the last stanza, the fourth line, the trees are stumbling forward. Personification because the trees are given a human quality. And in the third last line, the moon is broken like a mirror. Simile. Like a mirror. So it is compared to a mirror. So it is a simile.